Planking is the worst ab exercise if you want to get a six-pack, yet so many people recommend this, even making challenges of doing planks every day. So I am going to show you why this exercise sucks and what you should be doing instead, because everyone, including myself, has done or is doing this exercise. Planking sucks for muscle growth mainly because of its range of motion, anabolic pathways and proximity to failure, and that's because it's an isometric movement, which is basically exerting force without actually moving anything, like holding a bicep curl and, well, planking. Isometrics have their place in certain situations like injuries and advanced training techniques, but most likely not for growing abs, and here is why. We know that the range of motion of an exercise is probably very important because there is a theory about a thing called regional hypertrophy, which means that during certain portions of a movement, different regions in a muscle will contract, causing place-specific hypertrophy. And well, during isometrics, there is no range of motion at all. This is not optimal for muscle growth, but this is still a great way for unexercised individuals who suffer from lower back pain because it's good at forming some neural adaptations, as shown in a lot of research. These adaptations mean that after doing planks, unexercised people are now able to utilize more motor units, thus increasing the amount of muscle fibers they're able to contract within the muscles, and this then helps them to strengthen their core and utilize it. Which is why so many people think this exercise is perfect for building muscle, but these neural adaptations aren't really the cause of muscle growth. The clearest example I could find is that when you're training only one leg, the other leg for some reason also gets stronger because these neural adaptations also occur in that other leg, which was found in this study. But did that other one leg also get bigger? Well, most likely not, at least not in the studies that I could find, and we can use that and look at planks and say, well, getting stronger doesn't necessarily mean more muscle growth. Especially when we take into account that these neural adaptations don't just keep forming at the same rate as muscle would grow. And I personally believe that most coaches just looked at the general public who saw initial results from planks and, well, they just immediately jumped to the conclusion that this is a great exercise. But in reality, when we take a look at other things, it just gets much worse for planks. We know that concentric contractions, which is the shortening of the muscle, and eccentric contractions, which is the lengthening of one, both stimulate unique and different pathways for building muscle, and isometrics most likely don't effectively stimulate any of them. But this is more speculation, but what isn't speculation is that planks often take a lot of time to fatigue you enough to muscular failure. You often just stop because the burn hurts too much and not because your body is unable to hold the weight, and this is a problem because we know that only the 5 last reps or so close to failure actually really stimulate muscle growth, so there is probably some limit like that for isometric exercises, though this is again more speculation from my side. But like, there is a man who did a plank for 9 hours. Try to imagine doing that for a bicep curl or any other exercise that is great for building muscle. There is also this meta-analysis which suggests that during concentric and eccentric phases, making them last over 8 seconds, so for example 9 seconds up on the bench press, gives worse muscle growth. Now, isometrics aren't the same type of contraction, but I personally think that we can loosely draw the conclusion that there is probably a limit to how long isometrics take before getting useless. And we don't really know how high that ceiling is at the moment, so you basically don't know how long is too much, and this could mean that you're essentially wasting time. Now, because of the previously mentioned reasons, they are most likely not that optimal for muscle growth and thus not great for building those six-pack abs. Especially when adding the fact that neural adaptations also perfectly occur during regular ab training. Now doing crunches instead, in my opinion, also isn't going to really cut it. There needs to be an application of overload. Like so many people push their limits while doing bicep curls, trying to lift the most amount of weight they can. However, when it comes to regular ab training, they just keep on doing the same exercises, expecting that their abs suddenly grow bigger from the same exact movements. You're not still using that 6 kilogram dumbbell you started with, and it would be very hard to get growth out of that weight at all. So with the abs, we want to use weighted options as much as possible to overload. That's why I highly recommend doing weighted sit-ups or crunches and reverse crunches if you want to target the upper and lower abs specifically. With the reverse crunches, you can put a ball between your legs or a dumbbell, and for weighted crunches you can just hold a dumbbell like this. Other weighted options are also perfectly fine, and I also do quickly wanted to say that planks are still great in the right context, like isometric strength, if you still properly overload them. However, for muscle growth, there are just too many better options out there to justify this exercise to get abs as fast as possible, at least in my opinion. Now, a lot of people also use the worst bicep curls, so make sure to watch this video right now.